Welcome to the explainer. Okay, let's just dive right into this because it's a wild one. What if I told you that a massive new government plan, one designed to make homes more affordable, might actually be the very thing that makes them even more expensive? I know, it sounds completely backward, but that's exactly what we're going to break down today.
And no, this isn't some far-off theory. It's happening right now, and it's creating what people are starting to call the Great Housing Reset. We're going to unpack why a plan that's supposed to help first-time buyers could actually just end up fueling more bidding wars and pushing those prices even higher.
So let's get right into the nuts and bolts of this thing. At its core, it's a sudden, pretty massive intervention. It's really designed to be a jolt to the U.S. housing market.
$200 billion. Let that number sink in for a second. That's how much the government plans to pump directly into the mortgage market. Now, just for some perspective, the entire market for these things is about $11 trillion. So, yeah, this is a really significant short-term shock to the system.
Okay, so this money is being used to buy something called a mortgage-backed security, or an MBS. Here's the simple version of what that is. When you get a home loan, your bank doesn't just, stick it in a drawer. They bundle it up with thousands of other home loans and sell that whole package to big investors, like pension funds or hedge funds. It is truly the engine that makes the whole mortgage world go round.
And this is where we hit that central paradox. The whole goal is to make things more affordable, but the way they're doing it, well, it might just do the exact opposite. Let's look at how.
Okay, just look at this slide for a second. It's a pretty direct chain reaction. When a huge buyer with $200 billion comes into the market, it's simple supply and demand, right? It pushes the price of these mortgage packages way up. And just like a bond, when its price goes up, the yield, or the return an investor gets, goes down. So for banks to even compete, they then have to turn around and offer mortgages to you, the buyer, at a lower interest rate. Analysts are thinking this could drop rates by a quarter, maybe even 0.5%.
And this quote from the chief economist at Realtor.com just hits the nail on the head. Cheaper financing is great, but it doesn't magically create more houses. All it does is give more buyers more firepower to go out and fight over the same, very limited number of homes that are for sale.
So here's the crucial point right here in this contrast. The plan is intended to lower your monthly payment and make things feel more affordable. But in a market like ours where there just aren't enough homes to go around, all that extra purchasing power is likely to just get eaten up by higher home prices as buyers bid against each other.
Now, to really understand why this is happening now, we need to zoom out. This isn't just about one policy. It's really the culmination of almost 2 decades of crazy, market-altering events.
So let's just trace the story real quick. After the 2006 crash, home building just fell off a cliff and honestly never really recovered. Then you have the pandemic, where rates dropped to these insane historic lows and millions of people refinanced. But when rates shot back up, all those homeowners got locked in. I mean, why would you sell and give up your 3% mortgage for a new one at 6% or 7%? All of this just created the perfect storm for the severe housing shortage we have today.
Now this slide, this is the one that's honestly just shocking. Look at this affordability metric. At the absolute peak of the 2006 housing bubble, right before it all came crashing down, it took 6.8 times the median income to buy a typical home. And now, it's projected that for 2026, it will take 7 times the median income. By this key measure, housing is less affordable now than it was right before the last big crash.
So with all these things happening, you've got a government stimulus, you've got super low inventory, and this historically bad affordability. What in the world do the experts think is going to happen to prices in 2026?
Well, the consensus is surprisingly meh. Zillow, Fannie Mae, and Redfin, they're all calling for about a 1% increase in home prices nationally. Realtor.com is the most bullish, and they're only forecasting a 2.2% gain. I mean, on the surface, it looks like slow, steady, maybe even boring growth. But here's the detail that almost everyone misses. If your home's value goes up by 2%, but inflation is chugging along at 3%, you've actually lost 1% of your purchasing power. So even though your house is worth more dollars on paper, its actual value, relative to everything else, has gone down. In real terms, every single one of these major forecasts is actually predicting a slight drop in home values. So, this all builds up to the most important question of all. What does any of this mean for you, whether you're trying to buy, thinking about selling, or just staying put?
Well, real estate investor Graham Stephan, whose analysis is a big part of this explainer, puts it very bluntly. He says he's selling almost his entire portfolio. And why? Because the math has totally changed.
A property he bought years ago that was giving him a great 12% return on his equity is now only earning 4.5%, simply because its paper value has shot up so much. That money could be working harder for him somewhere else.
And it's not just about the returns. The actual cost of owning a home is just exploding. Insurance rates have doubled in a lot of places, basic utilities are way up, and trying to get a repair done costs a fortune. And for landlords, rent caps mean they can't even raise rents enough to keep up with all these rising costs. The whole financial equation is starting to break down.
So this all leads us to the big question, right? If the old rules of real estate just don't apply anymore, what are the new ones?
Okay, so here's the updated playbook for anyone trying to buy a house. First, and this is the most important one, stick to a price you can truly afford. Don't let fear of missing out push you. Second, know that buyers are starting to get a little bit of leverage back, so don't be afraid to negotiate. And finally, you have to scrutinize every single purchase. The era of buying a house being a guaranteed no-brainer path to wealth, that's on pause for now.
And that right there is really the key takeaway from all of this. The biggest mistake you can possibly make in 2026 is just assuming that what worked from 2012 to 2021 is going to work now. It's not. Higher costs, slower appreciation, higher interest rates, they've changed the entire game.
So as we watch this government intervention send ripples through a market that's already defined by a historic shortage, the old certainties are pretty much gone. The question isn't just what will the market do? It's, in a market with a whole new set of rules, what will your next move be?